transition to what it's hoped will be a lasting democracy. He's standing again. He's just come second in the first round of the presidential election. He now faces a runoff against veteran politician Beji Caid Essebsi. He says a vote for his rival will mean the return of the former regime. Moncef Marzouki, thanks for joining us. First of all, your reaction to that first round result?
Well, I must say that, first of all, I think it's a success. Tunisia is a success story because you have to compare the Tunisia situation with what's happening now in other countries where they have their Arab Spring. You have to compare to Libya, to Egypt, to, unfortunately, even to Syria, of course, to Yemen. And then you'd see the difference, and the difference is huge. I mean, we have had the very difficult transition, but peaceful transition. We have had tough times, but we didn't have, the state is solid. And we have now the constitution, one of the best in the world, I can say, with the human right, all kind of human rights respected and so forth. And then my main objective during the 3 years is to achieve the process and then to come to this election. And this is why now, because I can tell you that I feel really relieved because the last 2 months or 3 months I was extremely upset by the fact that somebody could be assassinated or we could have terrorist threats and so forth, and then the process would not be achieved. What's happening now is that the process is over, and this is why I feel proud and relieved. Well, the fact that I would be elected or somebody else, I wouldn't say that's not important. It is important, but the most important thing for me is that really we have achieved this process, and this is why I'm really very, very relieved and very proud.
Before we look ahead to the second round of the election, let's look back at your time in office. Is there anything that you regret then? These last rounds of voting, the parliamentary election and now the presidential election, could be seen as a punishment from voters for things that have, in their eyes, gone wrong over the last few years.
Well, I think, first of all, don't forget that transition period in every country is extremely fragile, difficult. Why? Because the level of expectation of the population is extremely high. After revolution, everybody is expecting jobs and, the solution of their own problems. And, of course, they see that it's not the case. That happened everywhere, and that happened also in Tunisia. But what we achieved, once again, is that keeping the country as a whole. I'm very proud of the fact that in Tunisia, during this transitional period, all human rights have been respected, the freedom have been respected, and so forth. That's not easy. And in fact, during this period, the most important thing was to write down a constitution and then to have the elections. This was the major part of my objective, and we did it. But for the population, I can understand, for a jobless young saying, hey, it's okay, you have a good constitution, but this is not very important for me. I need job. But how to explain to those young people that we need to have this this constitution? We need to, because it's the first step to stability, to have a stable government, and then after having stable government, after election and so forth, then we will come back with jobs and so forth. People who don't understand, I can understand their frustration, but I cannot also have all the solution for their economic problems. So being punished, yes, but not that much, because as you said, third of the Tunisian people have voted for me, so I can expect perhaps for the next round that more than 51% probably would vote for me.
You will need to get some votes from people who backed other candidates in the first round. It's going to be a question of mathematics in a two-horse race. Are you confident you can do that, and who are you looking to support you?
Yes, of course I'm confident. Yes, of course I'm confident, because don't forget that last year people was saying, hey, Marzouki would probably have less than 3% of the voters. Now it's about 33%. So I expect that after, explaining to the young people, explaining to the women, explaining to that I probably will gather more and more votes from all regions, from all social classes, and from all ideological parties.
I want to talk now about Mr. Essebsi. You were talking just now about the relative success story that Tunisia has been since 2011. You've portrayed him as a real threat to that, a remnant of the old system.
Yes, of course, he is man of the old system. Don't forget that he was Minister of the Interior, probably knowing a lot about torture and saying nothing about it. Don't forget that he has been also the Speaker of the Parliament under Ben Ali. Don't forget that during more than 20 years he didn't say anything about corruption, about torture during the dictatorship. So he is the man of the old system, surely.
Is that dangerous, though, because people are clearly prepared to vote for him in quite large numbers?
Yes, but we have to explain to this part of the population that this man is part of the old system and thinking the same way of thinking, and he really could be extremely dangerous for the stability of Tunisia, because if I don't think so, but imagine that he would be the president. With the old mechanics, the way of thinking, the old political party. The problem is that we have had a revolution in this country, and we have a new population, I would say, that would never accept, coming back to the old methods. And this would be extremely dangerous for the stability of this country.
He's throwing the ball back into your court at the same time, criticising you for what you've done in the last 3 years, and particularly after 2011, saying that alliance with Ennahda makes you the candidate of the Islamists? It's
ridiculous, because he is looking for this alliance. He's talking all the time to the Ennahda, to have the support of. This man is ready to be to have alliance with everybody, with the left, with the leftists, with the Islamists, and he wants power, nothing else. But once again, the problem is now the challenge is between the new regime. The Democrats, human rights activists, they want to build this new state, and this man who is once again part of the old system, and he's probably going to restore the ancient system, and this would not be acceptable for an important part of the population.
If you do win the presidency, what can you offer Tunisians?
First of all, I think stability. That's the most important thing, because what I'm afraid of is if the old regime comes back, this part of the young people, part of the lot of region of the country, the poor and so forth, all the people who suffered under the dictatorship, they would never accept this kind of regime. And don't forget that the economic situation is quite difficult. We still have an important rate of unemployment and so forth. And the new government won't have, he is not capable to do any miracles. So we can expect that if we had economic problem and social problems with political problems, that would lead Tunisia to more and more instability. While I can assure that if I am elected, there will be at last the kind of political stability, because some regions, some political classes, some ideology would say we are represented. We are not afraid of that the ancient regime would come back. We are not afraid for our freedoms and so forth. And then we could tackle the social and economic problem, which is the main challenge here in Tunisia.
OK, looking at it internationally, obviously the president is responsible for standing for Tunisia on the world stage. Yes. Where would you position the country? Where are you looking to position the country going forward?
Well, I think Tunisia, after the revolution, is now seen by a lot of countries as a model. For the Arab world, it's a model. And I think if we do succeed, if Tunisia is a success story politically and economically, this would play an important role in promoting human rights and democracy in the Arab world. Now Tunisia is also opening up to the African countries. For the first time now, Tunisia has solid relationship with sub-Saharan African countries. We still have, and we are going to have solid ties with Europe. So in fact, Tunisia is. Our situation is quite good, because, as I told you, I talked with President Obama, with President François Hollande, and many Western leaders are extremely interested in promoting Tunisia as a model. And this is why I expect, if we have this social, political stability, that we would be backed by the European country, by United States, to promote the economy here in Tunisia. And if we promote the economy, and if we succeed to have this this democratic states, Tunisia once again will be on the track. And we badly need a good example in this area. You know, you see the situation in Libya, in Iraq, in Syria. In the Arab world, we badly need this success story. Otherwise, it will be really terrible for the whole Arab world.
Security problem. There are security problems in Tunisia. Nonetheless, I'm thinking of the militants on the Algerian border. The country sending among the highest numbers of jihadi fighters to Syria. What would you do to address that?
We are addressing this, but the question is why Tunisia is sending so many terrorists in Syria and Iraq. It's not because the revolution. It's because more than 20 years of politics. This country because of the level of corruption, the high level of corruption, the high level of violence against the young, the high level of social injustice. This is why you have had this the number of people. Some of them, of course, they come with us to try to build this country peacefully and democratically. And some other youngs prefer to go to Syria. But now we are addressing this security threats. Mainly working with Algeria, Algeria and Tunisia both are interested in the situation in Libya. This would be this is my concern currently, and would be probably my main concern in the future.
Moncef Marzouki, thank you very much for speaking to us.
It's my pleasure. Thank you.
That's all we have time for on the France 24 interview. Do stay tuned.